Go see Peter, who's in the green shirt, waving to you over there. He is the person who will help you get registered and give you your ballot. Thank you.
One time a year I get to use it for its intended purpose.
Okay.
Who's ready for 2 hours to sit in front of people and smile? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 Annual General Meeting for Democrats Abroad. We're delighted to have you here. I'm Jamie. I'm your current chair. Let's see if that continues tonight. You never know who's going to jump up from the floor. I have hope. Okay. So welcome, everybody. One thing that I want to check, we have a speaker here, and I'm not seeing him, and I am... thank God. Okay. Whew. I was worried you'd run out on us because we were taking so long. Okay.
You want me to introduce or you want
Not yet. But yes.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
Just sit right there.
You sit down.
The answer is yes. So, hi. Can we get the next slide up?
Oh, no, wait. We can control.
Oh, we can control the slides. Well, that's a big improvement from last year.
How come I don't get a nameplate?
Because you're leaving us.
Where are they?
I didn't make them.
We're all leaving. You all are X.
No, it's true.
Where's my nameplate?
I don't know. Ask Mark.
Oh, yeah, there it is. All right, Mr. Manchester.
Okay, fantastic. May I please? Oh, fantastic.
Pointer. Back.
Oh, fancy.
You
Okay.
wanna handle it?
Yeah, you can handle it. Okay, so for tonight, we have a very special meeting, and that meeting is our annual general meeting. So what does that mean? It means we are here to wow you, to surprise you, to tell you about American politics, and then to have you decide brutally, which ones of us will continue on to the next round of American politics in Thailand? So today, first, what we're going to do is our opening registration. Congratulations, you've already completed the first agenda item. Our second one will be the opening of the meeting, which, congratulations again, we're doing right now. Then we're going to move on to having Keith come talk to us, and Paul will introduce him. And then we'll start the AGM business. It will be very short, which is a quick report from each of the people that you see up here, basically, and our secretary, who's also dialed in. And then we will actually go into the elections and the general introduction of candidates. If you have not registered or you have questions, as was previously said by Phil, please see Peter at the table in the back. You should have a ballot. That will be helpful for you. Yes, thank you, Gary. So let's move on to the next slide, please. Couple of announcements to make. So this is the meeting opening. One more, please. So we have t-shirts for donation. In case you were wondering, the beautiful artwork you see over to the side, you can wear that artwork home with you for just $25. You too could show your support of not being supportive of Trump every single day. There's also a slogan contest in the back. If you want some new ideas for our merchandise, please fill out one of those pieces of paper and stuff it in the ballot box on the bar side. There's also a survey for what type of events you guys would like to see. So whether it's bar nights, book clubs, or getting together to discuss politics, we have a whole survey that takes 2 seconds to fill out, but we'd love to hear from you. There's also some activism print-offs. For those of you who are at our past 2 meetings, we talked a little bit about how to be an activist safely. So there are the printouts of the tools for you to be able to travel home safely and to be able to participate in democracy in the United States in a safe way, including cybersecurity. If you have questions about that, please feel free to ask me. And then today, I'm just explaining the meeting. Didn't I do a great job? On to the next. Okay. I would now like to call Paul up to introduce Keith. Would you like to sit here?
Yeah, we should make Keith. Keith Richburg is of the Washington Post, one of America's, well, ever since I've been around, it's been the paper of record for politics in America. And many will dispute that, but the Washington Post always wears that sort of as a crown. Keith Richburg has been reporting for the Washington Post, I don't want to say how long, but he has covered virtually every major political upheaval outside of the United States that has occurred since the, dare I say, the late 1980s. How about that? I'll put it at that. He has reported from every continent. And I can recall back in the days of paper newspapers, reading his byline from the most obscure places around the world. But then over the course of several weeks of reporting, they became important known places that every American was following. He was very much in the center of action in Africa, in Europe, and especially, I might add, here in Southeast Asia in the 90s, leaving and then returning periodically, making visits. He is the author of one of the better books of reportage from Africa, covering, I think, the 5 or so years that you reported from Africa for the Washington Post. And it's actually an amazing book, not necessarily because of its political science of Africa, but also for the understanding as an American visiting Africa and seeing it. And he got a lot of acclaim for having written it with that perspective in mind, as sort of an American watching the trials and tribulations of Africa. And I spent a year in Liberia years later, and I remember meeting with the American ambassador in Monrovia, in Liberia, and there was Keith Richburg's book on the shelf. Maybe not read, but hopefully read as well by the guy. And that was years later. So that book is still available on Amazon, I am informed. So it's called Out of America, so by Keith Richburg. But suffice it to say, we are very fortunate today that Keith Richburg has chosen to make Bangkok his base for still continuing with very much a global perspective, still working with the Washington Post, with their editorial board, filing political commentary from Asia. And again, the Washington Post right now is at the center of this American approach toward what is the purpose of media, right? And there is no place more than the Washington Post right now that is the center of between billionaires, media, what people are interested in, and what our politics and what our democracy in fact looks like. Is the motto for the Washington Post still, it dies in darkness? Democracy dies in darkness. So again, there is nothing more appropriate for members of Democrats Abroad in Thailand to be considering today rather than the survival of our democracy at home and the survival of democracy around the world. And there is no better person to frame that debate and that discussion than our good friend Keith Richburg. So thank you, Keith. Come join us.
Okay, thank you very much. I wasn't sure whether to bring a beer up here until I saw Mark and Barry had beer. So I'm gonna the beer's okay. I'll keep it there. Times call for beer these days. So thank you very much, Jamie. Thank you, Paul, for the introduction. Thank you for having the beer on stage, so it makes it easier for me to have a beer up here. And thanks for the introduction, although I did, all very accurate, although I did spend most of my life overseas in various places. Southeast Asia was my first foreign posting as a correspondent. But my introduction to journalism was actually at the same place, the Michigan Daily at the University of Michigan, where Paul was as well. But what you probably didn't know, because it's not really an official part of my biography, I was majoring in political science, and a buddy and I were just obsessed with U.S. politics. So we came up with a deal with a political science professor, a friend of ours, who passed away recently, that we wanted to go cover the presidential primaries. I graduated in 1980. So the presidential primaries started going on, obviously a year earlier, 1979. That was our last year. And so we asked this Professor Grassmuck, hey, can we get extra credit? Can we get special credits if we go cover the primaries? And so I had an old beat-up car, and my buddy and I, we're in Michigan, so it's a great place. We drove to Iowa for the Iowa caucuses. We drove to Chicago for the Illinois primary. We drove to New Hampshire for the New Hampshire primary. I drove to Wisconsin for the Wisconsin primary, where Jerry Brown was running. This was 1980. And then we covered some of the general election when we covered both sides, Democratic side, Republican side. Really exciting election because Reagan was running against George H.W. Bush, and on the Democratic side, you had the Kennedy Carter race going on. So it was kind of an exciting. Jerry Brown got in the race, et cetera. So it was kind of an exciting time to be covering politics. One fun story from that is way back came up with this wacky idea to do this and try to get credit for it because we read in the newspaper in 1978, late 78, that it was this guy who had been former ambassador to China and former head of the CIA and all that, and he was running for president and speaking at the Detroit Economics Club. And Ann Arbor, Michigan, where we went to school, was only about an hour drive. He said, let's go see this guy. Nobody had ever heard of him. His name was George H.W. Bush. And we went to the Detroit Economics Club. It was a full meeting. Only 3 journalists were there. Me, my buddy from the Michigan Daily, and a guy from the Detroit Free Press. And we stayed around, and he stood back answering all of our questions. And then the guy from the Free Press left. And then George H.W. Bush said, do you know how I can get a taxi to the airport? And we said, well, no, but we're driving back to Ann Arbor. The airport's on the way. We'll drop you off. So I dropped him off. Kid you not. He still remember. Yeah, he remembered that, actually.
Changed American history.
We could have changed American history right there. But right now, that says 100 days of Trump. It's actually about 120 days of Trump now to get to the topic of where we are now. It seems like it's been years, but it's been only 120 days. But before I talk about that a little bit, let's talk the topic everybody's talking about now, and the elephant in the room is President Biden. We all wish him well after his diagnosis. But we also we all wish him very well now. Also this Jake Tapper, Alex Thomas book is out. I think it's Alex Thompson book about called Original Sin, and it's prompted the surge of second guessing among Democrats especially, but among everybody as to what really happened in that last election. Was Trump an aberration? Was it something that could have been avoided? Had Biden stepped down earlier? Had there been a primary in the Democratic side, et cetera, et cetera? This has been a topic of discussion at the Washington Post editorial board, where I'm a member now, because we actually debate these things. We meet 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, mornings in Washington, evening time for me. I Zoom in. A couple of people are remote, and we Zoom in. And, they really think seriously about these things. We don't want to just weigh in on things without having some solutions to things. The last editorial in the Washington Post came out about a day or two ago on this very topic. Tried to be as sensitive as possible, given Biden's medical condition as well, but saying, look, there needs to be some kind of check on any politician, even the current president, as to, especially when they get to a certain age, that their medical record should be more transparent. They should have to take cognitive tests. We even debated the question of should there be an upper age limit for people running for president if they're going to be turning 80 in their term, because many of us have dealt with elderly parents. Many of us are elderly ourselves, and you see the mental faculties aren't the same, aren't necessarily as sharp, as they were before. And again, it's not to preclude anybody from being president who could be good, even in their late 70s. You look at people like Bernie Sanders; they're still out there doing it. But on the other hand, maybe there should be some kind of check. And again, we can't rely on Congress to come up with something, because Congress is too divided politically. But we have to come up with something, maybe independent and a panel of medical experts to just do an annual check on people just to make sure they're still cognitively there. So we have to think about that, and we have to think about whether there was some kind of a cover-up. And the reason I say that's important is because if Democrats are going to come back and try to run for president again, a lot of people are going to have to answer that question. What did you know and when did you know it, about President Biden, which is coming out now, not just in this book, but in a lot of other books. And it kind of reminds me, I also covered, between foreign assignments, I was back and forth to the States. I was back in the States in 2006 to 2009. I was the New York bureau chief, and during that period of time, I also covered the Obama and John McCain campaign, the 2008 campaign. So first the primaries when Obama was running against Hillary Clinton, and then I covered a bit of the general election as the New York bureau chief. In the Democratic primary, then, the big question was, how did you vote on the Iraq War resolution? Did you support the Iraq War, or were you opposed to the Iraq War? Obama was able to get away from it because he wasn't in Washington at the time. He was a newcomer. He was barely in the state Senate. So he could say, well, I was opposed to the war, because he never had to actually take a vote on it. But I think that really hurt, some candidates, John Kerry, John Edwards, they came out and said their vote was a mistake. They voted for the war and it was a mistake. I think one of the things that was not beneficial to Hillary Clinton's campaign is because she would never say that her vote for the Iraq War was a mistake. She always tried to dance around it in ways saying, well, I didn't know that Bush would use the resolution to go to war. I only thought he was using the resolution to put pressure on Saddam Hussein. And people were smarter than that. They were saying, oh, come on. Just admit your vote was a mistake. And again, I think people are not going to be so easy on Democrats when they come around the next time. If that question is asked of people like Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan or others saying, what did you know about Biden's condition when you were saying he should run for re-election? And if you answer that question and say, well, I never saw this, or I didn't know that, people aren't going to believe it. And so, again, there's no coincidence that the 2008 primary was won by Obama, who was able to say, I had nothing to do with the Iraq War. I wasn't there. And look around next time around when there's a race for presidency, for somebody saying you need a clean break from the Biden administration. If it's somebody who was in the administration, who saw Biden up close, and now they're trying to run for president after they said he should be the nominee, that's going to be a tricky one to have to get around. But, the one problem is that, politicians, journalists in some ways, we're all looking back at the last election and not the next election. Which is kind of more important in many ways. But the last election will offer some clues. There's a good story in the Washington Post today. I just read it. It's in the opinion section. It's by somebody I don't know, actually. But she was writing about an organization called Catalyst. You can just find that in the opinion section. Her name was Lakshya Jain, Jain. She was writing about this organization that comes back, pretty respected organization that comes back, and they not only look at exit polls, which from the last election, but they combine the exit polls that we already know about with precinct and county level election results. And it's a much better look, a deep dive analysis into what changed. And this Catalyst group came up with some really interesting findings. So, for example, we knew that Trump enjoyed a gender gap, more men voting for Trump than before. The exit polls show that that gap was that he increased that gap by about 2 points from what he had in 2020 and 2016. Catalyst, looking at county level results, shows that his real gap was plus 11 points with men, as opposed to plus 2. So exit polls are not very reliable all the time. The other thing that it found out in there, which I thought was very interesting, was that we all know that Harris lost, the conventional wisdom was that Kamala Harris lost rural votes, and she also lost urban votes. What Catalyst found looking at county level and precinct level results is that she actually did okay. She actually did about the same as Biden with rural votes, but she tanked in urban votes. And if you look at urban centers like Detroit, parts of New York, Queens, et cetera, she actually lost more votes in urban area, or looked at another way, Trump did a lot better in some of these urban areas. Partly that could be attributed to the gender gap, but it also has to be attributed to a lot of other things as well. And I think, Democrats looking for the future have to understand what happened exactly there. We're always looking for a simplistic, easy solution. That's what we like to do. Was it misogyny because she was a woman? Was it racism because she was mixed race? Probably all of those things. But again, I'm one of the, as a political scientist, I'm of the belief that there's never one single factor. There can be all kinds of factors that are involved. Was inflation a factor? Yes, it probably was. Was it the idea that the Democrats had moved too far to the left on some issues and became too woke? Probably among some people of the electorate. I mean, again, but I don't think it necessarily you can point to one thing and say it was that, it was this other thing, if only X, if only Y. Of the two that I would highlight, I mean, again, it's not, people have talked about it already. I would say immigration and the border, which I don't think the Biden took seriously enough early on, and crime. Again, which I don't think the Democratic side and Biden and the administration specifically took seriously as a voter concern. I was based in Paris. I'm going to date myself now. I think it was around 2002 when they were having an election. The socialist prime minister Lionel Jospin was running against the president Jacques Chirac. And usually, in the French system, the two top vote getters go on and they face each other. And it was widely expected that Jospin was going to be the second candidate. Chirac was the incumbent president. He'd come in first, Jospin second. And I remembered asking a question about crime. He had all the foreign journalists over to the prime minister's residence for a press conference, and I asked a question about crime. And I said, people are worried about crime going up. What do you say, Mr. Prime Minister, future presidential candidate? And he said, but if you look at the statistics, crime is actually down. And he brought out all these charts showing me how crime was down in Paris and the number of murders were down and blah, blah, blah. He was absolutely right. And it didn't matter because people thought crime was up. And I knew this because I lived in a nice neighborhood of Paris called the Marais, and it was about a 5 to 10 minute walk to the nearest metro. So when I had friends come over for dinner parties, the females would ask me to walk them to the metro because they felt unsafe. And they would ask me to walk down the stairs of the metro and wait till the train came because they felt unsafe. And you could argue, as Jospin did to me, that crime was actually down. It doesn't matter if people don't feel that. And Biden could argue that, border crossings are down, they're doing more deportations than they did under Obama. It doesn't matter if people don't feel that. And so that's why I think I thought of that during the campaign, actually, when I was thinking, you can argue with statistics, you can argue your point with numbers, but you have to look at people's feelings. And if people feel that prices are too high, you can argue till you're blue in the face that, prices have come down from where they were 3 months ago, but it doesn't matter. What matters is what people feel. The first 100 days of Trump, 120 days of Trump, I don't want to speak too long here, so just cut me off. But I'll just sum it up and quickly saying it's shock and awe. We as journalists, and I think the American public in many ways, we're just so overwhelmed with so much going on at the same time. We can't keep track of it. we have, as I mentioned, we have our editorial board meetings 3 days a week, and we can't keep track of how many court cases are going on just involving deportations. I was trying to figure this out the other day. You've got the Haitians in one court, you've got Venezuelans in another court, you've got Cubans in another court, you've got the case of the people being sent to El Salvador, which is in a separate court. You just had people being sent to Sudan. I think they're from Myanmar and Vietnam. I've lost track of all the court cases that are going on at this point. I've lost track of all the court cases that are going on involving the furloughs. There's so much going on. It really is shock and awe. And I think it's too much for the body politic to absorb. It's too much for the journalism community to absorb. And so we just kind of keep going after the shiniest, most interesting objects we can find, because it's too complicated to keep following court cases as they wind their way through. And you'll get a temporary stay by a 3-judge panel, and that'll be appealed to the appeals court, then that'll be appealed to the Supreme Court. And it's just very complicated with no real resolution in sight. In the meantime, the organizations are losing their funding, they're getting shut down, even if ultimately it might be ruled illegal. Full disclosure, I'm an unpaid board member of Radio Free Asia. So I'm constantly getting updates on what's going on now. They just got their April funding a couple of days ago, around May 15th. They got their April funding, which just goes backwards to pay bills that had already been accumulated. Again, one federal judge, appeals court judge, has ordered them to release the funding for Radio Free Asia. The other side is appealing that. It goes to a higher judge panel, which I think supported the lower judge panel, and it just gets so complex. But what's really worrisome is that by the time we get to the next couple of months, there's no more money left. The government still hasn't released the funding, and then Radio Free Asia, could possibly be in jeopardy. And that's a shame, because I think in this part of the world, especially when you see the gutting of USAID, the gutting of Radio Free Asia, the loss of the National Endowment for Democracy, the loss of foreign aid funding. When the earthquake was going on in Myanmar, we weren't able to effectively deal with it the way we normally could, because USAID people were told you got to come home or you got to shut down your operations. So it's a real loss of American soft power in this part of the world. I don't think a lot of governments are necessarily as antagonistic towards the Trump administration as probably a lot of people in this room are, because a lot of governments are looking around and say, oh, good, they're not going to hector us about human rights anymore. Nobody's going to be complaining if we lock up a dissident or send a Uyghur back to China anymore. So I don't think a lot of governments in this part of the world are complaining terribly. I was tickled when I saw the video of the president of South Africa sitting yesterday with Trump at the White House. Did you watch that? He had a really underhanded comment. He said, Mr. President, I wish I could have brought you a plane. An expensive plane, It was a really nice plane to give you. I wish I had that, Mr. President. But I think people are learning that how to deal with this. I mean, you look at what's happening now with Ukraine. And that will reverberate in this part of the world as well, where the administration is basically saying, Trump is basically saying, oh, I couldn't get a deal in the first couple of months, the first 100 days, 120 days, so it's not our war anymore. I'm just going to walk away and let the two parties deal with it. I mean, again, look at the Iran negotiations. On the one hand, he's saying, look, we want to deal with Iran. On the other hand, he's saying they better hurry up. It took 22 months to negotiate the Iran nuclear deal the first time around. And he's saying, hurry up, I want it done now. So he's got a very short attention span, and he wants what I call quick wins on things. The trade talks, the other thing, it takes years to negotiate trade agreements, and he thinks they're going to be able to negotiate some of these things soon. Last thing I'd say is, what do you guys do? What do the Democrats do? What does the American people? What does the American people do at this point?
What do we do?
What do you do? There seem to be two opposite threads here. And again, I'm told we won't have time for questions, but I'll be around if you want to talk about this later on. Which is, there's off the record, yeah, of course. There seem to be two polls here. One poll says, fight, just fight. The AOC, Bernie Sanders poll, which just said, just fight everything, just fight it all, just, go to court, mobilize in the streets, just fight everything. The James Carville side, and among others, are saying, no, just let this thing play itself out. Let them cut Medicare, let them cut social program, let them cut food stamps, and then people will get so pissed off that Democrats don't have to do anything, but we'll be able to just walk in and take over the House in the midterms and you could elect a dog catcher president in 4 years. Again, I'm not sure I buy either one of those two polls. I think there should be some combination of resisting or fighting where you can, accommodating where you can. Don't just be reactive against everything he does. But on the other hand, I don't think sticking your head around just waiting for things to implode and waiting for things to get so bad that people will turn to the party is going to be a real lesson in how you win. Because I think history has shown that you can't beat something with nothing. You have to actually be able to put up proposals and alternatives. And as I said, to bring it full circle, everybody's always, journalists, politicos, everybody's always looking at the last election. But the conditions, when you look at 2028, are going to be completely different than conditions are now. We have no idea what it's going to be like. And if you start looking backwards at, what did Harris do wrong? If we had just tweaked this, if we had just gone into Pittsburgh, if we just put the governor of Pennsylvania on instead of the governor of Minnesota, we might have won. That's looking backwards. So I think you're going to have to look forward, see where the country is, see where the world is at that point. One last point, which I find really fascinating. I've been asking people. I've asked an Australian diplomat recently. I just talked to a EU diplomat in Washington, by Zoom. And I have one question for them. For foreign leaders, Europeans, Australians, Asian leaders here I talk to, I just have one question I always ask them. Are you treating Trump as just a little aberration? That that's a fluke that he's there, and if you just wait it out, the Democrats will come back in 2 years, and then in 4 years, a Democrat may get elected president, and things will go back to normal? Or are you treating Trump as the new normal? And without a single objection or change, they're almost unanimous. And they say, no, we're treating this as a new normal. They're saying that even if the Democrats are getting elected again, they're going to probably keep in place a lot of the policies that Trump is putting in now. And they say we have to, and these are diplomats telling me this, they're saying we have to look at the fact now that 49% of the people still probably would vote for him again. And so therefore, whoever comes in, I'm talking to NATO diplomats who are saying, no, we cannot just put our head in the sand for 4 years and pretend this is going to go away. We have to think that this kind of America First agenda is going to be around for a while. We have to pay for our own defense, et cetera, et cetera. I think you would hear the same thing if you talk to Japanese, if you talk to South Koreans, if you talk to the Filipinos. They're going to be saying the same thing. We can't just pretend that this is just a fluke because Biden was too old and Harris got in too late. No, we have to pretend that this is a new normal, that the U.S. is going to be pulling off the world stage more. We have to be responsible for our own defense a bit more. We can't rely on the American umbrella the way we used to, and we can't rely on America as a stable, reliable trading partner going forward into the future. So the rest of the world is looking at this as a big change, that a almost semi-permanent change in the American condition. I think people in this room and all of us as journalists might be well off to think the same thing, that this might be a real sea change in where we're going as a country. So on that sad note, I'm going to say...
Thank you so much for that. So, on that rousing note, let's talk about the AGM business, which is oddly going to be cheerier. That's not usually how our talks go. So first we'll do the chair report. So just a reminder of our mission. Our mission is very specifically, we are here to support the interests and ideas of the Democratic Party of the United States and of Democrats abroad. We are here trying to be idealists as well as be practical about where the rubber meets the road on how we can create change together. Next slide. So just quick couple of highlights on things that we've done in 2025. We've had 4 bar nights and coffee days. We had a great talk by someone who's running for office here. I will plug him later, on USAID. We've had 2 talks on activism and safety. We've done voter registration, membership drives, and education process and procedures in these unprecedented times. If these things are of interest to you, please fill out the survey in the back of other events that you might be interested in so we can actually give you what you want to see. So state of the membership, things that have happened in the past year that are fantastic. So we've had a significant increase in the number of people who've become members, and it has been driven by a youth vote. And by youth, I mean under 40. Our definition of youth is different. So we're going for under 40. We've also had a lot of new voters in Thailand, people that are registering for the very first time, and dual passport holders. And we're also re-engaging previous voters. We had a couple of people who registered to vote this year, and by a couple, I mean a couple of dozen, who had not voted in 8 to 10 years, but were so pulled in by Trump's last presidency that they voted in this election, which is incredibly exciting for us to be able to reach out to people more and to get them more re-engaged. And I see some of you here tonight. The next slide, please. So that leads us to where we were, and that takes us to where do we want to go? What does the vision look like? Now, I am currently the chair. I may be ousted tonight. I am currently running unopposed. However, if any woman would like to stand up and is interested in taking chair, please feel free to self-nominate. So we've opened up a couple of pieces. So one, I would like to introduce Tom. So the new ex-com will vote on this, although Tom is, there you are. I see you, Tom. Hi, Tom. So Tom has volunteered to be our new counsel. We will vote on him. This is an appointed position. Would you like to introduce yourself in 1 to 2 sentences?
Sure. I'm Tom McInerney. I'm a lawyer and law professor from the New York area. Tom McInerney. And I'm a lawyer, practicing lawyer, and consultant and law professor. I work mostly with international NGOs on international development type projects, and have a background in corporate and securities law, and would be interested in supporting the organization as the counsel. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Tom. So in our effort to be a more robust organization and actually get volunteers what they need and get our membership what they need, we are looking for a social media coordinator, a volunteer coordinator, a get out the vote coordinator, and if you too love a specific caucus, you could be running that caucus for Democrats Abroad Thailand. Please let us know. Are you interested in LGBTQ plus issues? Are you interested in the Black Caucus, the Hispanic Caucus, the Women's Caucus, the Taxation Caucus, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, whatever you're interested in, we would love to help you be the change. Let us know. We also are looking for a Bangkok Events Coordinator. These are positions that will be appointed, but please feel free to come forward. We would love to have you. We're also looking for member-led events. As I've said, there's a form in the back for you to fill out. And we're looking to build our bench. One of the things that's a common criticism of the Democratic Party is that there is just a front line, that there are people that have been in Congress for a very long time now, and there's not a very deep bench for the next generation. So what we're trying to do now is to start building our bench for the next generation as well. So bring your friends, bring your children, bring your grandchildren, bring that neighbor that seems kind of cool and also American. We'd love to get more people on our bench. And then last but not least, one of the things that we're excited about is that we have a SMS system that will be coming together soon so that you will know when your state races are up, when there are special elections, and when there are things that you can be active in. Next slide. And I will pass things to Kevin Vang, who's our current secretary, who will be joining us online. Welcome, Kevin.
Hi, can everybody see me?
Hi.
Oh, yeah, okay, there I am. Okay, hello everybody from Eastern Poland. I was able to extract myself from the wildlife photography in the peat swamps this morning to be with you. Unfortunately, I'm not much in Thailand these days, so we will be having a new secretary, and a welcome to him, Michael. And just a quick report, the Secretary's report, the total membership is 2,786. That includes Bangkok and the surrounding provinces, 1,579, Chiang Mai in the north, 614, Pattaya in the eastern seaboard, 166, and elsewhere, 427. It's estimated in the past 12 months we've had 118 new members, but this figure does not include existing members who moved to Thailand. Now, there is a bit of, we're working with the help desk and the national committee to, because a lot of people have left Thailand, and so we think there's anywhere between 600 and 900 people that we're still working on in terms of who've either left to other Democrats abroad or for some reason have not been unreachable. We had a few people, of course, that mostly, to be honest, around the Middle Eastern situation who didn't want to be part of Democrats Abroad anymore after this last election. And so I'll be working with Peter, the former secretary, and Michael, the new secretary, to try to get these numbers to gel. But I still think once all that process happens, we should be around 2,000 members, and so we'll keep working through that process. So that's basically the Secretary's report. I just want to thank all the members, the leadership of Democrats Abroad Thailand. You're a great bunch of people. I've really enjoyed working with you. I'm so sorry I haven't had more time, especially since the election, to do very much. But I want to thank everybody. And for anyone who wants to be part of this group, they're a wonderful, wonderful group of people. If you're in Thailand much more time than I am, you'll really love hanging out with this group of people. They're fun. They're incredibly smart and intelligent, up on all the issues. And it's just a wonderful group of people to talk to and learn from and engage with. And I hope that if I do get myself back to Thailand, I'll still be an active member of Democrats Abroad Thailand in some form or another, and get to keep meeting and working with all these great people on the Democrats Abroad. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, and now we'll turn things over to Barry for the Treasurer's report.
Our amalgamated bank balance at our AGM last year was $592. Balance now is $2,867. Reflecting a good fundraising year. Over $4,500 was received in member note donations. Expenses were for DAT branded merchandise, event expenses, and online messaging. In addition, we have 93,600 baht in our local Thai bank account, down from 145,000 baht at our last AGM. Expenses from our local account were for non-federal election activities, including DAT t-shirts and event expenses such as this meeting tonight. All new contributions and eventually all expenses will go through the amalgamated sub-account. Our local account will eventually be zero, as no contributions are going in, and we spend it on non-federal election activities. It is very easy to make contributions to Democrats Abroad Thailand, one-time or recurring, via our website using a credit card or PayPal. Just scan the QR code with phone camera and scroll down. Regretfully, we don't take cash, and we cannot use the local bank transfer scanning tool, but we do accept non-US credit cards. And as Jamie mentioned, we do have a new design of t-shirts that are over there on this side, so please have a look at them. It's our new design. And if you're interested in donating $25 to get one, see me after the meeting.
If you too, sorry, thank you, Barry. If you too want to look like you support democracy, buy a t-shirt. Look cool. And now I'll turn things over to Harold for the DPCA and caucuses.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Harold. I'm the first vice chair, and I vote from California. So I'm going to speak a little bit about the DPCA, what that is, and how it's related to Democrats Abroad, and also the different caucuses and task force that Democrats Abroad supports. DPCA, well, the initials stand for the Democratic Party Committee Abroad. Now, this is what governs the agenda and has a responsibility for coordinating everything about Democrats Abroad. Now, what you need to remember is that the Democrats Abroad functions like a U.S. state party. We as a group are on a par with like Guam, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands. So we do have a say as to what goes on at the national level, and we do also get to send delegates to national committees and other events. So what do we do? Again, because we have such a responsibility, we do have to follow the functions of any state Democratic Party committee. So we're subject to all the bylaws and charters of the Democratic Party of the U.S. Any resolutions or actions taken by the DNC. And in addition, we also have our own Democrats Abroad charter, and there's a URL if you're interested, and any other resolutions that we make as the DPCA separate from the DNC. But what we really what the DPCA really has been created to do is to function as a way of getting issues that affect U.S. citizens living abroad back to the Democratic National Committee in the U.S. As a consequence, the DPCA has divided the globe into 3 regions, and each region has its own country or transnational committees, and the DPCA supervises all of those things. We function as the primary function really is organization of voter registration campaigns, get out to vote activities. And as a consequence of that, we handle publicity, advertising, campaign literature and materials, coordination of visits from candidates, and any other campaign/voting related matters. We are doing this in coordination with the Democratic National Committee, so we sort of speak as one voice. In addition, we do get to visit and have a say in the nomination and election of delegates at Democratic Party conferences and conventions, and we are a conduit for the views of Democrats abroad to the DNC and vice versa. And in addition, the DPCA oversees the day-to-day operations of all of the regions. Now, the DPCA membership is made up of the chair and vice chair of a country or transnational committee, the automatic membership in the DPCA. So, for example, both Jamie and I are automatically voting members in the DPCA representing Democrats Abroad Thailand. But we do have the ability to add differing representatives. We can have voting, alternate voting representatives of a country committee. And the total number of delegates depends on the country committee membership. So because of our membership numbers, we currently have a total of 4 voting delegates, which means that tonight we get to choose 2 other DPCA voting delegates, in addition to the chair and the vice chair. Okay. Now, the DPCA representatives all they need to do is just to be a member of Democrats Abroad. Okay. So the DPCA itself, its leadership has an international chair, an international vice chair, treasurer, secretary, counsel, and 3 regional vice chairs. Okay? Now, the international chair and the international vice chair must be from different country committees and, be different genders. So the DPCA divides the globe into 3 regions, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, EMEA is acronymed, Asia Pacific, where we are, and that geographically extends from Afghanistan to New Zealand, and then the Americas. Now, each region is led by a regional vice chair, and the vice chairs, they serve a 2-year period, and every 2 years during an odd-numbered year, including this one, they are up for re-election. So whomever becomes our DPCA voting members, they will be very quickly getting involved because the Asia Pacific AGM is on June 8th in about a couple of weeks, and they will be voting for our regional vice chair. Now, one of the benefits of all of this is that as a member of the DPCA, we get to send 8 delegates to the Democratic National Conventions. Okay. So the international chair and the international vice chair are automatic delegates, and 6 additional members from Democrats Abroad can be elected to make up the total 8 delegates who get to go to any Democratic National Convention. Caveats are that no DNC, no elected person to represent DA at the DNC can be only one person from a particular country, and elected members for DA to be part of the DNC delegation need not be a member of the DPCA, just be a member of Democrats Abroad. Now, Jamie mentioned something about caucuses. The Democrats Abroad, we currently sponsor 11 different caucuses, and these are all areas in which if you're interested in campaigning or having initiatives or advocacy projects from overseas, Democrat Abroad members are all welcome to join in them. There's no demographic, not age restricted, or gender restricted, just be a member of DA. So these 11 caucuses, we have an Asian American and Pacific Islander caucus, the Black Caucus, a Disability Caucus, the Environmental and Climate Crisis Council, the Hispanic Caucus, the LGBTQ plus caucus, Progressive Caucus, Seniors Caucus, and again, you don't need to be a senior to join that. The Veterans and Military Families Caucus, Global Women's Caucus, and we have a Global Youth Caucus.
Do you need to be a woman to join the Women's Caucus?
No, you don't.
That's right.
And you
Because
don't-
we love women, right, men?
And you don't need to be a youth to be a part of the Global Youth Caucus.
Like a pedophile.
Yeah,
Just be young at heart, people.
exactly. Now, one of the things these caucuses do in their advocacy is they do have the ability to get in touch with the legislators who are working on some of these particular initiatives. So it's a way of amplifying the voice and getting our concerns back to the people in Washington, D.C. who do the lobbying. Now, within these caucuses, there are some specific task forces which are a little bit more, shall we say, urgent. They really put a lot more emphasis on the legislators. They really keep up with when voting for certain bills are happening that will impact certain things. And so many of these task forces are associated with a particular caucus. So for example, there is a Climate Emergency Task Force, Equal Rights Amendments Task Force, which is part of the Women's Caucus, the Medicare Portability Task Force. And again, you can imagine that that is a part of the Seniors Caucus, because that is a very immediate thing and gets a lot more emphasis than the Seniors Task Force and Caucus in general. The Reparations Task Force, the Taxation Task Force for people who don't want to be double taxed, and we also have a Pandemic Preparedness Task Force. Now, all of these caucuses and task forces, volunteers are needed for them. Volunteers are needed for, say, social media team, event planning, fundraising efforts, and membership drives. So feel free to visit the Democrats Abroad main website, and from there you can get to all the caucuses and the individual task forces. And the only requirement to join a caucus or a task force is to have the desire and to be a member of Democrats Abroad. Okay. Thank you.
Boom. So, we now enter the final countdown. I know, you've been waiting for it. You've been wondering, who are all of these people that are going to be elected? or not elected, as the case may be. You're here to decide. I'd like to turn things over to our election committee, of which I'd like to bring up Phil, Peter, and we've got Jay here already. I will relinquish my seat to make space for y'all. Thank you so much for serving on our elections committee, and let the bloodbath begin.
Begin.
I'm supposed to be the voice of moderation and reason, which I am. So we're going to have the election now. We're going to proceed. Yeah, it is a nice shirt. This is the 2008, the Obama 2008 shirt. Yeah, exactly.
The people who need a third term.
Yeah, exactly. I want to first of all thank Peter Fischbach, who's in the back, who's been registering people as they came in. Also Jay. These are my two collaborators on the election committee tonight. We're going to proceed from basically the top of the ballot on down. So we're going to basically start with the chair, then the vice chair, secretary, treasurer, at-large representatives, DPCA voting representatives. The way it works is that if you want to nominate yourself from the floor, you can do so for any position, okay? You have to have a second, okay? And if you do that, you will be a write-in candidate. So just be clear about that. We had a nomination process. A number of people self-nominated in advance that was done in accordance with the bylaws. And the people who are on the ballot that you received, their names are there, are the people who nominated themselves within that time frame. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the chair. I'm going to ask the candidate for the chair, who's Jamie Brennan, to get up and say a few words. And then I'm going to open the floor for any other nominations. If there is a nomination from the floor, then that will be a contested election and we will deal with that via the ballot. If, however, there is no contested election, and basically no one else stands against Jamie, then we will vote by a show of hands to acclaim her in that position. And we will proceed down the same way through the ballot. The at-large position, there are two at-large representatives on the XCOM. Right now we have a nomination for one person, so there is an open slot there. And again, we will do it through the nominations from the floor for the second slot. And if there's a contested election, then we will have the vote and we have a ballot box and all that, and we'll count the votes. Let me also say that we have, based on people here, people who are provided proxies to people who are here, and people online, a total of 40 voting members. So we have achieved a quorum. Quorum is 30 people or more, or 5% of the membership. Of course, we have 30 people, and that's our quorum.
What's our number now? What do we have?
We have 40.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
So we'll proceed. So for the position of chair, right now we have a nominated, one nominated person, which is Jamie Brennan. I want to give Jamie a couple minutes just to stand up and say a few words about yourself and why you want to do this job.
Sorry. I moved seats because I thought Peter was going to come up here. I will sit back down over there. So hi, I'm Jamie Brennan. I currently vote in the state of Alabama, but I will be voting in the state of Georgia coming up soon. I am the incumbent. I would be delighted to continue to serve you and to build on what we have started with increasing our voter registration and figure out ways to get you more engaged and more excited about being part of the Democratic Party. Because the other side is not as exciting, and we'd love to have you and your friends. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, I'll turn things back over to Phil.
Following in the exemplary example of our keynote speaker, I'm definitely bringing my beer to the front. Thank you, Keith. Okay, so the floor is open. For nominations from the floor for the position of chair of the Democrats Abroad Thailand, would anybody like to nominate themselves, or would you like to nominate someone?
You are very welcome to.
Going once, going twice. Okay. So I move that we acclaim Jamie Brennan as the chair of the Democrats Abroad Thailand for the next term. All. Okay. Actually,
We're only
no,
one.
no. Actually, there is a two-term limit.
Yeah, just like president.
There's a two-term limit, so she's timed out after that. So after this term, we will have a new chair. Or no. Hit that guy. Somebody hit that guy. Okay. Now, so for the position of vice chair, we have 3 nominees. What is required in the bylaws is there be at least 1 vice chair. Okay. It also requires that the vice chair be the opposite gender as the chair, which is not a problem because all 3 people running for the vice chair are in fact men. So we're in good shape there. Now, we have traditionally had several vice chairs. Vice chair number 1, vice chair number 2, vice chair number 3. Usually we determine that by votes. Like whoever gets the most votes is vice chair number 1, whoever gets the second number of votes is vice chair number 2, who's number 3. What I'm going to do right now is ask the candidates for vice chair to each give a little speech about who they are and why they're running. I'm going to do it in alphabetical order. We're going to start with Harold Hibbert. You can sit there or you can come up here. It's up to you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Harold Hibbert, and I'm currently the first vice chair, Democrats Abroad Thailand. I vote in California, and I wish to remain in this position to assist Jamie in continuing in what we've accomplished over the past 2 years. One of the things that she has brought is an enormous amount of organization. I've been here long enough and been with Democrats Abroad to know that we've had some ups and downs, but for the past couple of years, I think our team has just sort of found its footing, and we've managed to get some stability, and we've been able to grow our membership, and we have some ideas as to how to keep on improving on that. And I hope that you give me the opportunity to work with her to continue what we've began. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, the second nominee is Brett McCargue. I'm not sure if Brett is here. I think Brett is not.
He's not here.
Okay. So Brett's not here, so...
I can get, he gave me a thing to say, I don't know, I'm his proxy, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk for him though.
I mean, unless it's necessary. Let's see. I mean, I think we want to sort of move through this fairly quickly, right? The third person is Mark Yang. So Mark, you want to say a few words?
Yes, good evening. Hello. Okay, great. Yes, good evening to you all. I'm Mark Yang, and I've nominated myself for a second term as vice chair for the XCOM. It's really been a pleasure working with this team. That's, I guess, the first part I'll say. I was born in Washington, D.C., grew up in Maryland, and moved to New York, which is where I still vote from. And quick background, after being blessed with a successful career and family in the States, I'm now doing my Asia chapter, giving the face, and a give back stage. But, you know, we are democratic, and it's all colors. So I'd say on that note, in the give back stage, I've actually admired the philanthropy of people like Mike Bloomberg and Bill Gates. And so if you contrast that, it's just galling to see the grifting of Trump with the planes, the resorts, the crypto around the world. It's just unprecedented, and it just bothers me. I'm kind of tired of talking to the radio in the morning and night and listening to NPR and BBC. And my only solace is to listen to the late night talk show hosts kind of review it all and put a different spin on it so it's bearable. So as the Washington Post masthead says, democracy dies in darkness. And it's good that it's still there as a saying. So I'd like to say that it's time for us to shine a bright light on the future and fight back. And I'd say we need to sort of, I hope to help us move forward and push back against Trump's first 120 days during the next years, so we don't have pieces of Humpty Dumpty to pick up. So thank you all for being here, and let's move forward together.
Okay, thank you very much. So now the floor is open for nominations for vice chair. Would anybody like to nominate themselves as a candidate for vice chair or nominate someone else as a candidate for vice chair? Please go ahead.
I don't have a nomination, but I have a point of order.
Point of order, okay.
I don't think it's appropriate to vote in the structure that you've just described. I think we have to vote for the first vice chair, the second vice chair, and the third vice chair. Otherwise, because the first vice chair is ex officio the DPCA representative.
Right.
It's a different position.
Right.
And you said whoever had the most votes, which means we should only be voting for one vice chair. That doesn't seem appropriate.
I'm just speaking from what has traditionally been done in the past, which is that basically the vice chairs all run at the same time, and whoever has the top number of votes is the first vice chair.
But in this case, you're saying we should only vote for one vice chair. But
No,
there are
I'm not. I'm basically, we have 3 vice chair candidates right now.
Correct.
We have not determined whether we're going to have 1 vice chair or 3 vice chairs. Again, this has to come to the acclamation of the actual meeting.
I don't have the bylaws in front of me. What you're saying, in essence, the ExCom then decides how many vice chairs.
No, there has traditionally been the way there's a requirement for 1 vice chair.
Right.
But my understanding is the bylaws state that there is provisions for additional vice chairs as desired.
Correct. Each of which must be elected by this body.
So
individually,
up to 3.
separately.
Can I just jump in for just a
Yes.
quick second? So we have potentially traditionally done stack ranking. I don't know. I do know in the bylaws it doesn't say either way whether it is stack rank or it is specifically nominated per chair. However, in our nominations, Harold has nominated himself for first, Mark has nominated himself for second, and Brett is happy to do third. So they've all nominated themselves as 1, 2, 3, which we did not get a chance to discuss before this conversation. So
Okay.
since you brought the point of order, I bring the clarity, and we can all hold hands and sing Kumbaya.
We can proceed on that. If people are in agreement, we can proceed on that understanding. But right now, we're asking whether there's any other nominations from the floor.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, no. Okay. So, courtesy of Jamie, who's clarified this, we are basically saying that Harold would be vice chair number 1, Mark would be vice chair number 2, and Brett would be vice chair number 3. And so I ask to whether the meeting agrees to acclaim that outcome.
Hi.
Okay. So we have vice chair 1, vice chair 2, vice chair number 3. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, okay. Thank you. I am not Keith Richburg, yes. I aspire to be. Okay. So now we're moving to the position of secretary. We have 1 nomination. Nomination by Michael Rahenkamp. Is Michael here? Okay. Michael, you want to say a few words, please? Why don't you come up here? So we can...
There are people online who may not be able to hear you, and they all want to hear your dulcet tones.
I'm Michael Rainkamp. I vote in South Carolina. I was a computer programmer for 16 years, and when I saw the website, I saw that they needed help. So I'm volunteering to be secretary, try and give some of that help back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Michael. Okay, so the floor is open for other nominations for secretary. Would anyone like to nominate themselves as secretary, or would someone like to nominate another person as secretary? Going once, going... Nomination cease. Okay, thank you, Gary. So I move that we acclaim Michael as the new Secretary of Democrats Abroad. Okay, now moving to the position of treasurer. We have a nomination from Barry Satz. Barry's right here. Barry, can you say a few words, please?
Yes, good evening. My name is Barry Satz, and I've been Democrats Abroad Thailand treasurer for the past 2 years and standing for election for 2 years more. I've lived in Bangkok for 13 years. Before that, I worked in corporate finance in big companies, Ford Motor Company and General Electric Company. And I voted Michigan, where I last lived before Thailand, though I grew up in Northeast Pennsylvania. And my objective is to continue keeping the solvency of Democrats Abroad Thailand. I've been in charge of the T-shirts, which is, not the most happy thing to do, not the most fun thing to do. But I do hope you buy some tonight, or donate. Sorry, donate some money tonight, which will continue to help our solvency. Anyways, I will be happy to serve 2 more years.
Thank you very much, Barry. So again, nominations are open from the floor for the position of treasurer. Would anybody like to nominate themselves, or would you like to nominate another person? Seeing no nominations, I motion that we acclaim Barry Satz as the treasurer of Democrats Abroad. Okay. So we have now, we're moving to at-large representatives. There are 2 at-large representatives on the executive committee. We have a nomination for 1 at-large representative, and that person who's nominated himself is Peter DuPont. Peter, can you say a few words, please?
I'll be brief. So I'm fired up, pissed off, angry, and resolved to get re-engaged with Democrats Abroad. I've been in Bangkok since 1989. I've worked as a consultant in the clean energy business. I worked for USAID as a senior climate change advisor for Asia until I was fired by Trump in 2017. It's not a revenge thing. Before that, I had the honor of serving as, following Phil and serving as the chair of Democrats Abroad Thailand from 2 terms, 2009, 2013, and then as secretary. I didn't do nearly as well as you, Barry. And I'm fired up, and I just want to serve. So I want to serve in a great team here, so I'm excited to be a part of this.
Thank you very much, Peter. Now, for the other at-large seat, it is right now open. We are considering nominations from the floor. Would anybody like to nominate themselves for the at-large position of Democrats Abroad, or nominate someone else?
Yes.
Please go ahead. Use the mic in the back, please.
Welcome, friend.
Yeah, I'm not nominating myself for anybody in particular, but I think it would be very helpful if we could find an under 40 person to fill the spot. So if there's anybody tuned in or you know of who would be good, it's under 40.
I'm our closest. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So we agree with you. Speaking in general, we've talked to a lot of people that we've tried to recruit. Most of the people under 40 are interested more in the other volunteer positions because they're concerned about the responsibility. So while we are trying to grow our bench as part of this year, which I can now say because I've been officially elected, this is a big part of growing the bench, is building up this younger generation to be comfortable to be able to take leadership positions. But you bring up a valid point. Mark?
Indeed. And on that note, I'd like to nominate Tim Castonguay, who's just been a great person who's come to our events and has shown some real care and interest and expressed some great opinions.
Okay. Tim, would you be prepared to accept that nomination?
And
Okay.
I second that nomination.
Okay. All right, just, good. Can you say a few words at the mic? Yep.
Hi, I'm Tim Castonguay. I'm from Michigan originally. I've lived and owned businesses pretty much all over the United States, red states and blue states. I've been living abroad for about 9.5 years now, Thailand for 1.5 years. And I'm a Democrat because I believe in the rule of law, which is a strange thing to say. I've been a Democrat all my life. But it's come down to that at this point in time, I think. I'd like to help any way I can with this organization and anything else we can do to get rid of this guy and MAGA and MAHA and Tea Party and all the rest of that stuff. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Woo! Okay. Okay. Are there any other nominations from the floor?
Phil, to be clear, they're not running against each other. We have two positions.
Well, there's two right now. Yeah, there's two positions. So, I mean, we're voting up to 2 people. So, but I mean, the floor is open for any other nominations. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none. Okay. So I'll close the nominations, and I would vote to pass a motion to acclaim these 2 individuals, Peter and Tim, as the new at-large reps for Democrats Abroad Thailand. Okay. All right, so now we're to the last offices of the evening. Thank you for your patience. This is the DPCA voting representative. We're voting up to 2 persons. One of the persons who has nominated themselves is Charles Ashley. Charles, can you say a few words, please?
Thank you, everybody. Some new faces. There's some old faces. I think I know a few people in here. Just really quickly, I'm really taken by some of these words about being fired up. I'm joining that camp, and I'm quite proud to tell all of you that I have been voting since I'm 18, and I've been every single election. So I haven't missed one. I've gotten involved in the state of California, which is where I'm still registering and still voting, and now have been active in Democrats Abroad for almost 20 years, partly here in Thailand and partly other chapters. But really, it's time to step up. That's why I'm here. And I would just like to only give you a couple of more words why I'm running now. I mean, all the stuff that's going on with MAGA and MAHA and all that is true, but you know, I had a conversation with my grandfather only a few weeks ago. He's 104. He's 104. The guy is completely switched on. I mean, right as a tack. And America's greatest generation, right? So he served and fought in Italy in the Second World War and pushed through and survived and all of that. And he is absolutely committed, not just to Democrats, but to rule of law, as the other comment was. And I spoke to him a few weeks ago, and he was absolutely despondent of what's going on. And, you know, saying things like, why did we fight and die to get rid of Luce and Hitler and da-da-da-da? This generation needs to step up. And you know, it hits here. We all have to step up. And when I saw the nominations coming across, I was probably one of the first ones to say I'm here. So on that note, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to your grandfather, too. The other candidate is Brett McCargue, who is not here. I should say that since Brett is a third vice chair, he can also serve concurrently as the DPCA voting representative. So the DPCA voting representative, these are the voting representatives who are the representatives of Thailand at the global meetings of Democrats Abroad. So what it means is that our electors who go to that global meeting and who have votes will be the chair, the first vice chair, so 1, 2, plus the 2 people that we elect. And the number of DPCA representatives is of course based on the size of our committee. So Thailand is, I think, the 3rd largest committee in Asia. So, you know, we have at least 4 seats. If we have more seats, if it turns out that we have a huge spurt in the membership growth, then you know, we'll elect another DPCA rep as needed. The nominations are open from the floor for DPCA voting representative. Would anybody like to nominate themselves as DPCA representative, or would they like to nominate someone else? Okay, seeing no nominations, I vote that we acclaim Charles and Brett as the DPCA voting representatives. Okay, so that concludes the election. Thank you very much for your participation. You can save the ballot as a souvenir. And good luck to the new executive committee. And the election committee hereby turns the meeting back over to the newly elected ex-com of Democrats Abroad.
Thank you, I want to give a huge thanks to Phil and Peter and Jay. It is, until now, a very thankless job to be part of the elections committee. It is nothing but chasing us and chasing the membership to find people to fill these positions who are not only excited to be here, but have the capacity to be able to fill these roles. And so thank you so much for what you have done and for keeping us on target and being on time also. Just thank you for that.
Answer questions.
It's complicated.
We are very upset about that. Do not bring sad tidings.
Personal, I'm honored, but call me and I can help. But taking over through the back door. Yeah.
Jay will never get to leave us. He doesn't know that yet.
Yeah.
Is it? I think I can figure it out. Just keep continuing. We need you. So I will just do a quick things in meetings close, and then we will actually turn things over for Q&A and discussion of our wonderful talk today. So just thank you to everyone who has served in the past, and a special thank you to Jay for what he has done, and to Kevin Vang, who I hope is still online. It's been a pleasure to serve with you, and we look forward to having you volunteer in the future for other positions. There he is. Thank you so much. Glad to see your Slayer. Okay, and then can we go back to my slide because I don't remember everything on it. Thank you. Okay, so we have 2 events coming up in June. We will give you the exact dates. So for the Letter Writing and Freedom of Information Act parties, we are going to get together. You will have scripts, you will have mailing addresses, you will have stamps. We will get together and talk about the things that need to change, and we will write all of the people who can help make those things change. And we will also send our Freedom of Information Act requests to the White House. The White House is the only place that has to manually process, count, and is required by law to respond to you. Let's push that rule of law to the White House every single damn day. Let's do that together. In June, we will send you out the exact date and the exact location, but it'll be towards the end of June. Second of all, it's Pride. Who loves our LGBTQ family? We do. So during June, we will be doing a get-together to go see some of the parades. That will be sent out as well. There are 4 different parades in Bangkok, so we will send out a notice for groups to get together to be able to go to those parades and participate together. We also have the offices to be appointed, as we discussed, so we'll be reaching out to people to serve. And then last but not least, thank you all for coming, thank you all for staying, and for being part of Quorum and a dedicated group of people to democracy. Let your anger become action, let your action become change, and let your change become the America you want to see. Thank you so much.
Can you ask for a photo
Yes.
of the new group?
Yes, can we bring all of the elected officials forward, please, for a photo? Because I have to send it to Global. Thank you.
Can you ask Keith to come up here so we can answer questions?
Yes. And Keith, if you would be so kind as to answer questions afterwards, that would be fantastic. If you're on the Zoom, please feel free to leave. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah.